Well, welcome to this episode of Family Hour here on the Hiawa blog. We have Kevin up there in my swimming pool. You look like you're more dressed though for weather and misery than you are here in the Virgin Islands. But you're welcome to go for a swim. Kevin has a magic way of taking backdrops from our home here in the Virgin Islands and plopping himself right down in it like he owns a joint. I'm glad you're able to enjoy it, pal.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
And Kirk, I don't understand how in the world you can go through all of those treatments and look better today than you looked a week ago. I mean, what in the world's going on, man? I need some of that.
Well, from here up.
Oh, here up. Okay. The rest of it's no touch zone.
No,
ain't worth the damn. Don't. Oh my. So. But I understand you're still on high ground, so that you haven't washed away with all the rains.
That was pretty bad too. But we had terrible storms. But it's sun shining now. That's great.
Oh, good. Okay,
well, sunshine.
That's good. It's good to know. And we've got the full attention of Dr. Jeff here. He is in his home, not in the hospital tonight. Is that correct?
That is correct. So. They're on their own with the others. So,
yeah, you had quite a cadre of problems a week ago. You were up to your nostrils and people trying to die on you.
Yeah, there were 16 unstable, 4 on the brink of death. Quite a few young ones who were doing themselves in, and. Just another day at the office.
What were the younglings suffering from?
Alcoholism, fentanyl abuse. I had a 400-pounder. I had a 42-year-old who was swallowing foreign bodies like nails and screws and doing all kinds of things like this. It's just I should write a book at some point, but I don't know how many people would believe me.
Yeah, just as a curiosity, you've been practicing medicine now for what, about 25, 30 years?
30 plus.
30 plus. And so, for the most part, you've been around emergency kinds of situations and with the pulmonary care, people that are in pretty bad shape. If somebody needs your attention, they're not doing very well.
Right, unless I'm doing just a pulmonary consult for asthma or something. But I'm more into the critical care, so they are literally dying to see me.
Yeah. Would you say that the overall lifestyle and ethos of the humans that you are treating has declined, or is it about the same as it was when you began?
It has definitely declined. I've had this discussion with your lovely wife and multiple times, and the nihilism is become much more pervasive. Over the years. I must say, and has had accelerated over the past, I'd say, 10 to 15.
And lots of people are just doing things that are horribly contrary to their health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just a lot of misery and substance use and abuse. And even to the point where people who will be 300, 400, 500, sometimes 600 pounds. It's unbelievable. And
is there anybody that is abusing drugs or alcohol that comes under your care that are living happy and fulfilling lives?
Absolutely not.
So it's just an escape.
So
we're not curing the drug problem in America by blowing speedboats out of the water.
Absolutely not.
It's a demand problem.
it's absolutely a demand, and demand is excessive among young, and I have to acknowledge, unfortunately, among people who are senior to all of us. I mean, I have 80, 85-year-olds who are doing methamphetamine and fentanyl.
And of this, I just want to drive the point home. Is the common denominator unhappy, miserable lives, unfulfilling lives they're trying to escape? Or is there a different common denominator?
Unequivocally, while genes and environment play a role, it's absolutely overridden by something known as epigenetics. It's not destiny. It's not chromosomally based where it's a definite thing. It's absolutely based on a miserable, unfulfilling, unsuccessful lives, and absolute knowledge or absence of knowledge of Yah. None
So the
whatsoever.
only way you could cure this is to create an environment that was more conducive to living a fulfilling and meaningful life.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to be able to do that with handing people money or entitlements or patting them on the back and saying, boy, aren't you wonderful? We love you so much. Just keep right on doing what you're doing. It's just fine. Don't let anybody tell you shouldn't be doing that.
No.
We don't set high enough expectations for people, and we don't model appropriate behavior. And, it's one of the things that is so troubling to me about Elon Musk and X, besides the fact that in this last week he's fallen off the planet. I mean, he's had an absolute moral meltdown in support of the ICE murder of Miss Good, and then of being a racist and overt racist on X. I mean, he really has fallen off the planet. But my biggest issue with him is he's promoting Optimus and AI, robots and AI, as providing the ability so that humans will have answers for everything at their fingertips, and that they will never have to research again, and they will not have to do anything again, that the robots will do everything for them. Now, come to find out, Optimus has been mostly a fraud at Tesla, which is probably why Elon's fallen off the planet and has lost his sense of reality. But the two things that make us human are our ability to think, and to think rationally and morally, which AI can never solve. And if you were to try to substitute AI for that, you would lose your humanity. And second is work. We develop character. We have a sense of value. We have purpose in life when we work. And if you do not work, well, you're going to turn to drugs, because your life is going to be useless and meaningless. And that's all that's left to you, is just to wallow away in your anguished pain. And, this is really the story that God's telling about the garden. It's he made it really clear that he ended the garden experience he caused the fall of man, and that he did so because he was exceedingly disappointed in Adam. He gave him a Nasalma, which is this extraordinary gift. By the way, Nasalma shows back up in the 57th chapter of Isaiah in a very interesting place. But he gave him a Nasalma, which is the ability to think rationally, to analyze evidence, to make sound decisions. And he didn't use it. And God's expectation for Adam was that he would be observant, paying attention to what was going on around him, and that he would be thoughtful regarding what he saw and heard, and that he would listen, and he would engage, that he would work, that he would make a contribution, that he would add something of value. But he didn't do any of those things. And the worst part of all is he proved that he was unreliable. He proved that he couldn't be trusted. And when you have no values in life, if your life ambition is to be an influencer, if you think you're entitled, somebody has to give you health care. Somebody has to give you an education. Somebody has to give you a decent place to live. Somebody has to give you a living wage. Somebody has to give you everything. And you contribute nothing. You're worth nothing. You really are just worth nothing. And that was God's whole point with the Eden experience. And not only was Adam worthless, and that was the issue, but in a coddled environment, which Eden is and which the welfare state is, was never going to improve. You can't resolve the drug problem in America, where 25% of Americans have a drug dependency on illegal drugs. 25%. And upwards of 70% abuse drugs of one kind or another, including prescription drugs and alcohol and the like.
I'm glad you brought that up.
That's how cancerous our country has become.
That's a very significant statistic that you're mentioning, Craig, is that abuse of drugs which doctors prescribe, which are legal and supposed to be promoting health, doing the very opposite. I will say, when you mentioned Optimus and AI, without knowing Yah and having Nasama, basically AI and Optimus do not hold a candle. No sophisticated machine or gadget holds a candle to anyone who can think, who knows Yah, and has an Nasama. It doesn't work that way.
Correct. AI have fast processors, and they have lots of processors. They can filter through enormous amounts of information. But knowing is infinitely inferior to understanding. And even understanding is limited without a Nasama, because you have to be able to process what you've come to comprehend in a way that is appropriate, moral, just, fair, useful. And the AI, no matter how many processors, no much how big the building is and how much power it draws, are never going to get past the data stage. They know, but they can't think. And you are never going to resolve that problem with AI. It cannot make the next step. And so to think that it's going to be the solution for humankind, I'm telling you, it is, given the opportunity. We just only have 7.5 years left, so it doesn't have much of an opportunity. But given the opportunity, it would be the last straw destroying humankind. And while the Optimus type robots are far better developed right now in China than they are in with Tesla, right now they really have a function for policing and for military use. Right. Yeah. They are a million miles from being useful in the home. They aren't going to cook your dinner, wash your dishes, bathe your dog, take your dog for a walk, make your bed. That's a horrible use for that. And if you're going to use robots, humanoid robots are the wrong machine for factories. And all we're doing is replacing people to factories anyway. And young people, the current generation, don't want to work in a factory. So it's really pretty bleak out there. And I think that what we're doing with AI and with the promise of robots, but particularly with this really vile world now that has come to exist in social media. Now, there are highlights. I mean, I watch at least 2 hours of YouTube almost every evening. There are programs that I have found that are educational, and I find it to be very stimulating to watch programs on subjects that I'm interested in. But for the most part, yeah, you spend any time on X, and it's a quagmire of irrational and grossly immoral, ignorant people. And You look at the response that we get when we tell people the truth about the fact that Jesus never existed and that the New Testament, I can prove overwhelmingly, is false, as is the Quran. People yawn, or they attack you. And they only attack, of course, is the ad hominem argument. And you're doing them a tremendous favor, yet they are just the whole thing is so upside down and disgusting. A combination of politics and Christianity and Islam and Marxism and MAGAs, it really made a mess of this place. And the one thing that I am pleased with, and this will sound a bit odd, but the thing I'm pleased with is that the last month with Donald Trump has been so bad, so evil, so disastrously disgusting, so contrary to human survival, that I'm glad that I had the courage to say, this is the man that the prophets are identifying. And it was obvious to me, overwhelmingly so, when you read the prophets in context, that it's telling us now is the time, and this is the man, and this is what he's going to do, and this will be the consequence. But when you're taking a man that has very little cognitive ability and that appears to be suffering from dementia, but I don't think that's it. I think he's just demon possessed and a born liar. I think he prefers lies to the truth. And you're saying that 80-year-old man is going to survive the next 7.5 years, and that he is, in fact, the satanically infused man that the prophet spoke. That's going way out on a limb.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not leaving any doubt.
Yeah. He's just proven the case for us over and over and over. But every day with a new tweet, with a new edict, a news conference, over and over, he just proves the case.
Just when you thought the Epstein files would do him in, and they only released 1% of them, by the way. So they released the 1% that wasn't particularly harmful to him. The other 99% is still unreleased, so they're in defiance of Congress and the Department of Justice. You would thought that would have done him in. That birthday card alone should have done him in. The pictures and the emails should have done him in, but it didn't, because MAGA seems to they have no problem in their Christianity with pedophilia and rapists. But you don't even hear about it at the moment because of what happened in Venezuela with, join the Navy and become a pirate. Join the Air Force and shoot people and kill them. Join the U.S. military and invade a country and steal it.
Mm-hmm.
Because Venezuela was just so horrendous. And he was actually honest for the first time. He actually said, I'm going in there, we're going to steal the oil. That's what we're doing. We're taking it. And in the past, they actually try to make a pretense of something. His lame pretense was narco-terrorism. There's no such thing. And Maduro was neither. The CIA established the cartel that is being blamed on Maduro.
Yeah, they have a long history of that.
Yeah, they sure do. Yeah, it's and the celebrations in Venezuela. No, they're of soccer matches 2 and 3, 4 years ago. They're being promoted by CIA bots. It's just horrendous. And you'd think that would be enough to bring a man down. Most countries don't like pirates and thieves running their country. But no, the next day he was promising to steal Greenland. And so that trumped Venezuela. And just when, the entire European continent said, what? Are you absolutely out of your mind? You do that, and we'll have no ongoing relationship with you. NATO is over. Don't do something that's stupid. And he said, no, I'm going to do it anyway. But we all forgot about it because of the horrendous murder perpetrated by ICE. And all of that, I don't know if you've seen the videos since that time, but oh my God, it's ICE is so out of control. And here is Trump and Vance. I came the closest I think I've ever come to actually throwing something on my television last night when Vance was justifying this murder. and saying that the murderer had absolute immunity. By the way, he has none because it's a state crime. He'll be convicted in the state of Minnesota, and you can't. Trump has no means to resolve that. But good God, these people are repulsive. And this woman gets killed. She hasn't done anything wrong. They ran out in her car, tried to grab her out of the car, tried to open the door of her car as she was moving. She waved them on. She's smiling at them, and they run up, they get in her face, try to pull her out of the car, and another guy gets off to the side and shoots her 3 times in the head. And then they're high-fiving each other, and they're celebrating it. They won't let a doctor come and try to treat her.
Yeah,
And then Trump and Vance lie on behalf of the ICE agent. And we're dealing with evil of a level we haven't seen in a very, very long time.
well, you have the MAGA media, Craig and fellas, led by, unfortunately, another ethnically Jewish person by the name of Stephen Miller, who is basically Trump's Goebbels.
Mm-hmm. He is. He is a really, really despicable man. But he's not as despicable as is Trump. Trump is the king of despicable. He is. 5 years from now, the world is going to recognize that Donald Trump is the most evil man who's ever lived. Worse than Hitler, worse than Stalin, worse than Mao Zedong, worse than Tamerlane. Be the worst single man who's ever lived. And I say this not only because of his pedigree up to this point, but because of what the prophets have said about him. Yeah. He is Satan incarnate, and he is now president of the United States and about ready to pull the rug on Israel. Israel's now a vassal. But it'll be interesting to see just how bad can get. Is he really going to start bombing Iran again? Is he really going to send, as he has, long-range missiles into Ukraine for Ukrainians to kill Russians? Is he really going to hijack another Russian ship?
Well, that's playing with fire. I mean, he's so out of control. He's really pushing Putin's buttons, thinking,
he put Putin in a position where Putin either has to put up or shut up. And so Putin, who is very reserved and only responds when it affects Putin's life, he said, what is it that has always guided you all your life? And Putin says, I've said this from the beginning. I will repeat what I've always told you. I only do what I cannot avoid doing. Unless I cannot justify not doing it, I won't do it. And so he has tried to avoid war with the United States and war with Russia. And so he just continues to allow the US and the EU to kill Russians and to taunt him. And at some point, he either has to stand up or Trump will own him. And when you're owned by somebody as evil and destructive and deadly as Trump, that's a horrible position to be in. So I don't know if Putin has the cojones to man up, but if he doesn't, Russia's in a very bad way because of how aggressive Trump is. And we're going to find out if how Z is going to play it, because Trump stole Venezuela from him. He had $70 billion invested in Venezuela. And Trump now is trying to steal Iran too. And, you take those two countries and China is in real trouble in terms of their energy supply. And China's going to respond by cratering the United States economically. Yeah. And so it's a really, really dangerous game the man is playing. And there is no positive outcome here.
Isn't that the goal he would have anyway? I mean, is Satan in Trump? He's talking with Satan's voice. If he would love to destroy everything, isn't that the whole goal? So Yahweh will never come back.
Of course. Yeah. It particularly wants to make Israel, Satan has two goals with Israel. Mm-hmm. He wants Israel to worship him as God.
Yep.
And so they view Trump as the second coming of Cyrus. So that's his, Trump is their new Messiah. So he has achieved that. But he also wants to eliminate Israel. And so he's got to parlay one into the other. So it's a really interesting situation. It's the book of Ezekiel. The book of Ezekiel has 25 ways to kill a Jew, and they're all hideous. And it has 2 really hideous rape scenes of Jews. And Satan's agenda is to change the 7 Moed Mikre. You're going to have the Feast of the Beast and Do Nothing Day and New Moon Day and All Idiots Day and the like. And then he wants to pave over all of Jerusalem and the Temple Mount with this giant edifice to himself, with Copper Khan, the Trumpster, doing all the measurements for this real estate development that paves over Israel. And so this is the book of Ezekiel. And it's that, I love you, I hate you, don't leave me. The psychopath line, particularly cluster Bs. I love you, I hate you, don't leave me.
That's the borderline credo.
As I push you away. Yeah, they're nuts like that. And Trump's Satan, Satan being inside of Trump, this is exactly what we would expect. He's playing both sides. But when you study the Quran and the book of Ezekiel, book of Ezekiel is inspired by Satan. The Quran, of course, inspired by Satan. What you find is that Satan hates people. The only people that Satan likes are dead. He likes people that kill other people because he's genocidal. And that is the entire thrust of the Quran. Satan is a terrorist. Allah's a terrorist. Allah's deadly, and all good Muslims kill. And all Muslims, the Quran's very clear. There's only 2 types of Muslims: a Muslim who has died killing for Allah, and one who will die killing for Allah. It's total genocide. And this is the path that Trump is taking. The world will be at war. There will be total economic collapse, which is anarchy. The human condition will become unbearable, and it will likely end in nuclear holocaust. And finally, Yahweh has to eradicate all of the religious, the political, the militant, conspiratorial, and get rid of all of them and start again with a mortal remnant. And that mortal remnant, I think, will be a tiny fraction of the Earth's population. And that's where we're headed. And we don't have much time to get there. But boy, we are witnessing it all play out, aren't we?
Yes, sir.
We're witnessing it and we're lamenting over it. But I guess on a positive note is we know what Yah has said. And I know you're going to get into this shortly, is that the Nakar will not and cannot fail.
No, we will not allow him to not be productive, because there's too much at stake. And part of the job of being a bull is standing in the breach here. Unfortunately, there weren't enough Germans or Europeans who stood up against Hitler when he rose to power with his brown shirts, which is like Trump with his ice. And they, when having read Mein Kampf, they didn't openly condemn it, as I have by reading the New Testament and the Quran and Trump's manifesto. So we're going to do the right thing with every breath. We're going to expose and condemn this because we're not going to stop it. Trump's going to destroy America and the world. We can keep people informed so that when it happens, they'll say, oh, I remember way before anybody else, that guy told us that he was Satan incarnate, that all of this was going to happen, and that we should be very, very concerned about everything from ICE to the military in American cities to the tariffs and a trade war with China, with taunting Russia, to invading Venezuela, to using the military to play the role of pirates, to being bribed by the Muslim dictators to abandoning Israel. It's all going to happen. And I want people to remember where they heard it, so that they then come back and read and say, rather than, how dare you say these terrible things about my president, or my precious Jesus or my Allah, they'll come back and say, hey, you were right about Allah and Jesus and Trump and the New Testament and the Quran and MAGA and all of that. And, we're not
And
playing
the other-
politics here. Where it's not every time that you speak against MAGA, they want to label you a liberal. They're the furthest from that. I spent a lifetime getting to know and dislike Marxism and socialism. I've seen it up close and personal, unlike any of those that would disparage me by calling me a liberal, who have never seen socialism or communism full blown, as I have seen it in China back weeks after Nixon opened it up. The first American in after Nixon opened it up, and did the same thing through the USSR. So I've seen it. I've been all the way through the Eastern Bloc when it was communist. I know this beast and despise it, and have studied it and understand it. But MAGA's worse. All right. With that introduction, I think it's important people know where we're going and how the world is deteriorating around us. And I can assure you that tomorrow's news is going to be worse than today's news. It's going to just continually ramp down, and you're just going to become desensitized after a while. Confused and desensitized. I mean, if you were actually political, which we're not, and you were running against Trump and the Republicans, particularly MAGA, you wouldn't know what to respond to. Are you going to respond to, ICE murdering that girl? Or are you going to respond to the piracy of the Russian ship? Or are you going to respond to the kidnapping of another head of state, or the stealing of invading of a country, or the Epstein files? What is it? Canada is the 51st state. We're going to take over Cuba too. We want the Panama Canal back. I mean, troops in our cities. What is it that what is it?
Can you get through the
that
list?
You're going to? Yeah. What are you going to respond to?
And it just keeps
$20 billion worth of bribes from the Muslim dictators. What is it?
Yeah,
Where do you go?
it just keeps coming. It just keeps coming faster and faster. There were 2 shot by ICE in Portland last night.
That's right.
And so it's everybody's social media is all about, this good Minneapolis, and there's 2 more, and there's going to be 2 more tomorrow, and and
pictures out of
those
Texas
are the ones that are
of
making
ICE
the news.
They were banging a man's head into the curb, boom, 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 kicking him, banging it, literally banging his skull into the curb. They were at a high school arresting kids. This ICE is worse than the brown shirts and worse than the Gestapo. Worse.
Mm-hmm.
And they're being funded at an unbelievable rate. And there is absolutely no training and no qualifications. And they're being run by grossly immoral people who are essentially saying, do whatever you want. I'll have your back. I'll have you exonerated. Kill whoever you want. We'll justify it.
Yeah. Did we see the budget for ICE was $70 million in small arms?
Yeah, not amazing.
That is, I mean, that's handguns and ARs. That's
Right.
not RPGs, grenade. I mean, that
Right.
is just that. Wow. I mean,
In
we were
America's
40.
cities, in America's cities, with guys running around in blue jeans and masks, wielding those in your face, and having the authority to tell you to get out of your car, to surrender, to allow them to deprive you of your freedom. Hell no. Hell no.
Yeah. We're far past the point of probable cause or even speaking to a law officer, because if you say anything,
breaking into people's car. What was the justification for ICE breaking into that woman's car? Which they did.
Right.
He reached into her car. He tried to open the door. What was his justification? There's no probable cause. She's clearly not an illegal alien.
And she
None.
wasn't going anywhere. Her wife had
No.
gotten out to film. She wasn't going anywhere.
Right.
They have their license plate. So at
Yes.
this point, escalating anything is
Wait,
insane.
Yeah, you wait till she
Correct.
gets home and you go pick her up. But that
Mhm.
was a big
Well,
problem.
for what crime? I mean,
Well,
she
none, but I mean,
she was
if you had a
waving
crime-
them, she was waving them by, and then when they wanted to get by, she backed up, and then that's when they ran to her door, put their arm around her neck, tried to open the door. They have no right to do any of that.
Yeah, you're right.
No probable
They don't.
cause there. I mean,
It's-
None.
it's
even
wrong.
I'm just disgusted. I am so glad I don't live in the United States. I'm sorry you guys still do, but I'm really glad I don't live in the United States. It's reprehensible how fast America has fallen and deteriorated, and how many morons out there are that are justifying this. Yay for the military! Go Pirates! The Pirates were
Well,
in Pittsburgh.
Sorry, I
but nope.
don't mean to laugh. I don't mean to laugh.
You know, it's
Go
The only
Pirates,
thing-
Matt.
The only thing I can say in defense is it's not necessarily just America. I'm going to go with population density. The further you are away from people, the better off you are. So
that's true.
I mean,
And you
that's
live in
been
misery. Yeah, you live in misery.
right. No one wants to be around me. So yeah.
well, no, my father always used to say I was born in misery and stayed there most of my life.
Uh-huh.
He was born in Mexico, Missouri.
yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. Okay. Right
Yeah,
up the
yeah.
road from me. I know
Yeah,
where
right.
Kingdom of Callaway. I know where it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I went through Mexico, Missouri on one of my road trips, and was appalled to find out how many Hebrew roots cults were in that area. I mean, it is
Mhm.
they are prolific in that area.
Really?
Yeah.
And crazy as loons. Now, particularly on Facebook now, I see it every day, 10 times a day. Idiots dressing up as rabbis with their menorahs and their Talmuds, and talking about Yeshua and
Mhm.
blending the New Testament and the old, what they would call the Old Testament, together, and doing programs on a blend of Judaism and Christianity when they are opposites. And it's just astonishing that this is the new hot thing. Is you tell two lies and somehow that's going to be the truth.
Doubling down on Babel. That's all they're doing.
Man, that you
Doubling
can
down
fix
on
that. You
Babel.
can fix the New Testament, which is wrong in every possible way. I mean, I have 4,200 pages of absolute proof that the New Testament is wrong in every possible way. It's called Twistianity. You can read it at yadayad.com, and you can't fix it by changing the name of Jesus to Yeshua. That doesn't fix anything. There was no Jesus. There was no Yeshua. The whole thing is a lie from beginning to end, and it's obvious. But God, religion is weird, deadly, deceitful, destructive, damning plague. It's amazing people can't see their way through it, and they'll defend it at any cost. All right, so we're going to return here to the 57th chapter, the beginning of the 57th chapter of Yeshaya, Isaiah. He had a lot to say. We turned to this because I wanted to share absolute proof that on the Shabbat harvest, there will be people who make it and people who miss it. And that the people who make it are going to disappear. The people who miss it are not going to have any clue as to why they were gone. But there will be a group that Yahweh has, more vitriol towards than anything I've ever seen in the prophets. This group where he calls them, the woman leading it, demonic, saying that she is a deceitful whore. And God's really upset that they will have claimed this as their own, and yet will do everything they can to denounce the one that Yahweh has appointed to make that harvest productive. So we turn to it for these reasons, to know that the harvest would occur this way, and that literally the Shabbat harvest is a harvest of souls where people leave this planet, not bodily. Our bodies will be destroyed, our souls. And so it reads, then the right and the vindicated will vanish. So that's who gets to go. The Sadak. If you're not right, correct about Yahweh, you don't get included. So we'll have 0 Christians, 0 Haredim. It will have 0 Muslims. It'll have 0 MAGAs and 0 Marxists. 0. The only way to have a ticket on this ride is to be right about Yahweh, his covenant, his beloved son, his Moed, Moedim in the plural, his name. You need to be right about all of those things. If you are not, you don't get to go. And beyond that, because we were told earlier that it is a harvest of standing grain of those who are involved in the field, active, growing, mature, you don't get to go either. So it's a narrow, very narrow group of people that get to participate in this. So then the right and the vindicated will vanish. That's pretty much straightforward, isn't it? They will vanish, disappearing, such that those who remain will not know where they have gone. So no matter how many books we've written on this, no matter how many shows we have done on this, people will pay it no attention because they're just too occupied with their ordinary lives. They still believe their religion. They still believe their favorite politicians or conspiracy. They're not going to pay any attention. They're just not going to know. So the right and vindicated will vanish, disappearing, such that those who remain will not know where they have gone. No one will give it any thought or meaningfully ponder the implications. And the implications are, at this point, you've got 7 years, man. And it's all
TikTok.
over. And that the world is going to fall apart. And lots of people are going to die. And that there was a group of people that had it right about God. And they're gone. Loyal and devoted individuals who are steadfast will be harvested. They'll be gathered together and taken away during the Asaph ingathering. The Asaph is used throughout the presentation of the Shabua Katsir and the Teruah Lakat. So there is no time come Teruah to even question who's not here. So it's definitely not Teruah, because Teruah is the greatest show on earth, and the stuff that's happening around Teruah would so dwarf the number of people that are gleaned at that point that you're not talking about Teruah, talking about Shabbat. And so he's saying that those who are harvested are not only right, that most people will have no clue what happened, but that those who are taken and Asaph gathered in are going to be individuals who are devoted, they are steadfast. Well, no one makes the connection to comprehend why. That's that Hebrew word that the machines don't process.
Binah.
Bien. Yeah, that's the one. Understanding. Yeah, you can put your mug right there, Rich, and you can chime in on this this show now that you've got all your cables working. We have room for you right over screen right. It is true. What they're lacking is bien. Bien is the Hebrew word for making the connections to understand. For indeed, away from the presence of this evil shepherding and disastrous calamity caused by troublesome compatriots and miserable companions who are wickedly wrong. That sounds like the world we're describing, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the United States, it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Who are correct, those who are correct, upright and innocent, there's that Sadak again, will be gathered in the harvest, removed and received. Asaph again. So clearly, God's saying that people are going to disappear at this harvest. The harvest is Shabua. Now, Shabua and this harvest can take place in one of 2 days. Only 2 days that are possible. It'll either take place 5 months from now, but 135 days, I think, is what where we're at. 135 days from now, on the Shabbat of Shabua, 22 May 2026. Or hopefully, so we have a little more time, 11 June, also a Shabbat, 2027. There is evidence for either one of the two dates, and both can be right because of the fact that there are different events attributed to them. For example, I think that the two-state solution that is going to be the dissolution of Israel is going to take place in 5 months. And I'm hoping that the Shabuah harvest take place in 11 June 2027, gives us more time. Although it's easier for us if we're pulled out of here. So I'm certainly not going to cry a moment if it happens sooner. And the other event that could be the demarcation event for June 11th is Alaska flood 2.0, which is 1,000 times more devastating version of what happened on October 7th. So that's your timeline. This is Yeshaya, Isaiah 57. There's going to be a ingathering. People are going to disappear. And yet it's not going to make the front page. They ain't going to miss you, Kirk. I'm so sorry, pal. Dr. Jeff, they're going to have to die without you. But good riddance. Huh? You're happy to be out. We're delighted. We're delighted to be gone. It says, they will arrive reconciled and restored. So God's telling, if people don't know where they're going, God knows where they're going, and God knows what the conditions are going to be. They're going to arrive reconciled and restored, intact and healthy, satisfied and content, blessed and prosperous, in favorable circumstances and saved. But guess what they're not going to come with? Bodies.
Oh, of course not.
No bodies. You can't leave this planet with a body. That's the problem
that's
that
me.
old Elon has by going to Mars. You can send people to Mars to die in a body, but you're not bringing them back alive in a body. So if you can't you don't want to shed your body and be enveloped in light, you are not going to be part of this harvest. Because when we arrive reconciled and restored, intact and healthy, it is without our decaying physical bodies.
Okay.
So, Dr. Jeff, you're going to have to be, Kirk, you're signing up for that? You get rid of yours tomorrow?
Yeah.
Tonight, if you could.
No.
And Dr. Jeff, you'd be happy to be a doctor of souls as opposed to one of broken bodies.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the point. The
Soul
best I can
doctor.
do.
That has a nice ring.
Soul doctor.
Soul doctor.
Yeah, that's my soul doctor. Yeah.
Dr. Soul.
So,
Yeah. There
Dr.
are,
Soul.
if you want to be
Yeah,
part of
here's
the
the soul,
mortal
brother.
remnant that is going to resolve the issues of Israel and teach this remnant how to work, how to listen, how to be observant, how to become trustworthy, you're looking at 5 soul doctors right here. That is going to be our job. We are soul doctors. So they will be spiritually Kirk PhD. They are our MD or just SD.
So SD.
Probably yes, SD.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a new title for you there, pal. They will be spiritually restored and comfortably settled within his restful environs, moving about and walking around while conducting their lives in a manner which is right, honest, fitting, and proper. The second part is be interpreted one or two ways. One is that 80% of the time that halak is used, it doesn't mean actually walking, it means moving around. And we're going to be quite mobile in Shama. In fact, we're going to have a chance to go off and explore the universe during this period of time, although I think most of our time is going to be spent learning and preparing for what comes next. But we'll have Yas School, and that'll be a lot of fun. I imagine a whole class, class taught by Yeshaya, Isaiah, another class taught by Moshe, a class will be on workmanship, could be tossed by Noach. It could be just great fun. experiencing this. Dode would be teach a class on governance and the Torah.
Elia does rhetoric.
Elia would
does-
do rhetoric and comic relief. Yes, how to
Yadi, you can use your ATP so you can teach us how to really fly the right way in Shemaim.
Well,
Yes, we'll be quite mobile at that point. The other way to look at it is that we are coming back to work as soul doctors the next 1,000 years during the millennial celebration of Sukkah. We have, I think what Perry was saying, it's that we're going to follow the Torah's cadence, and every 50 years we change careers, which would give us, 20 variations of a career. Kind of sounds fun during this period. But we will be active, and we will be upright and mobile and going about our business during that time too. And so we're going to conduct our lives in a way that is right, fitting, and proper, because we're going to be very well schooled at this process. Now, this is the line that is just so devastating to those who have tried to deny the value of Yada as the tree of knowledge, the Choder, and his work as the one imbued with the seven spirits of Yahweh. To call the people home at this time, the Nakar, the observant foreigner. They wish to besmirch all of that, to devalue all of it, and God's not the least bit entertained by what they are doing. They are claiming not only the covenant for themselves, which they will be excluded from, already have been, but they are also claiming the Shabuah harvest for themselves. And right here it says they're the ones who longed for it, who expected to be part of it, but are being precluded from it. So it says, but as for you, but as for all of you, those of you who are still present, wanting to approach, Karab, wanting to come near, wanting to be part of this, in the imperative mood. You wanted to be part of this. You expected to be part of this. You thought you were going to approach. But as for the rest of you who are not Sadak right, who are not devoted, those of you who are still present at this time, at the time of the harvest, that list is really tiny. That list is the mother goddess clique and nobody else. Doesn't apply to anyone else. At this time, God wants everyone to know, you are the children of false pretenses, under the spell of an Anan, a demonic woman deliberately conjuring a false spirit. Spirit mom? Ring a bell? Mm-hmm. To obscure reality and blow smoke as a sorceress. Do you think there's a Hebrew word? You've done a glossary. Kevin, you've read all these books multiple times. So have you, Dr. Jeff. Is there a Hebrew word that Yahweh could use that would be worse when directed towards a woman than Anan? Demonic? I would think that's as bad as it gets, wouldn't it be? That would put you alongside Satan, and you are being evaluated alongside Satan. You're being associated with Satan. God's saying that your plot at this time is flat out demonic, and you are a sorceress.
Yeah, Anan, maybe Azab is the only thing separated. That eternally separated is the only thing that would be worth than just being a sorceress, but
I don't think so. I don't think so because there's a lot of people that are going to be eternally separated that don't rise to the level of demonic.
Yeah.
Lots. In fact, most. The overwhelming percentage of those who are separated do not rise to the level of demonic. 100% of those who rise to the level of demonic are separated.
It
So the
outdoes
the
Zanan.
subset of Anan is far
Uh-huh.
worse than just Azab.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
Point
Yeah.
while
taken.
all Anan are Azab, all Azab are not Anan.
Anan, yeah. I thought Zonah was pretty bad, but Anan is worse.
Yeah, it's worse. I think it's the single worst thing God can call a person. If you're a woman, if he were a man, it would be satanic. So, but as for you, those of you who are still present, having wanted to approach at this time, you are the children of false pretenses, under the spell of an Anan, a demonic woman, deliberately conjuring a false spirit to obscure reality and blow smoke as a sorceress. The seed of a Naaf, an adulterous man who is unfaithful, disloyal, and unreliable. Now, why would he go from woman to man? Because guess what? This woman would have nothing if it were not for this man. There's a man that shut down our website, didn't he?
Yes,
Twice. Yeah. The man that wrote a bunch of letters saying that I was so dead wrong, I was going to kill a bunch of people. And if the only salvation, hope for the world is for them to speak for a spirit mom, and done everything he can to build sites to demean and disparage yada yada, and to prostitute on behalf of this woman as her pimp. He is her primary pimp. He is her primary enabler, and God has his name. He is a Naaf, disloyal one, unreliable one. And the Zana, going right back to the sorceress, he's saying that she is a Zana. She's the despised whore. Now, that's not quite as bad as Anan because, well, whores are pretty much a dime a dozen. Every street corner in Las Vegas. But whores are a dime a dozen. But she's a despised whore, a loathed woman prostituting herself and her despicable nature by pandering to her partners for favors and bribes. So she's not just a sorceress, not just a demonic woman. She's playing her audience. She's pretending affection and love for them while she is robbing them. From God's parlance, she's a prostitute. Now, it's not good for God to call you a prostitute. If you're a woman, you don't want God to call you a whore or a harlot. These are really bad terms. And so, when you write that and you say God has called, this woman's name is Dee, God has called her a whore. God has called her demonic. And you might say, how dare you use those terms and disparage someone? And there's no one else that fits this prophecy at this time, period. This is the only time this prophecy will be fulfilled. It is right now that it is being fulfilled. That is the only time it can be fulfilled. And she and her little group are the only people that could possibly apply to. And to not see that means you're either ignorant or irrational.
Which they are.
Which they are, by the way, but nevertheless, we are not.
The rest of you shouldn't be. No.
So I made a promise I'd go to the Word's lead. I did not expect them to go to this place. They did. And I'm not going to run from them. God is calling this woman a sorceress and a whore. And her accomplice, he's saying, is disloyal and unreliable. Isaiah, Yeshayah 57:3. Now, it gets worse from there.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
Oh,
Open hunting season on Mother Goddesses.
okay. Well, you pick your fight. They did.
On what basis have you, without any actual guidance, without even having any provocation, independently and continually become so effeminate, so overly sensitive, so self-entitled individuals delighting in ridiculing, mocking. Well, anag's not a very good term either, is it? What God's saying here is you weren't provoked into this. You did this to yourselves. And even a program like this, all we're doing is responding to them. They did this to themselves to the point they earned, was wrath. And we're reporting what God has to say about them. They did this to themselves. They were not provoked into it. They're not victims. They're victimizers, what God's saying here. And what he's also saying is you're just wallowing in your emotions. I remember the woman that I actually cared about that was my publisher. And she said, well, we can relate to this because we're all mothers. Therefore, it's nice to have a mother goddess. Oh, yeah. I mean, just emotional drivel, as if I'm going to throw away my brain because this psychopath is scratching an emotional itch. And for the effeminate men that have joined her, being the whore's little helpers, he's saying, you're like women. You're as emotional and out of control, irrational as they are. You're overly sensitive. You were not provoked. You don't have any actual guidance. You're self-motivated, and you delight in ridiculing and mocking, not in contributing. Have you all, apart from others, uniquely become so swayed by a woman and a feminine individual losing any sign of and every sign of masculinity, overtly prone to ridicule, enjoying being slanderous without any prior inducement, exploiting another while taking pleasure in acting like overly emotional, needy, and gossipy women, hopelessly relishing derision, pliable without any backbone or substance? Yikes. And boy, is it fitting. Against what and whom do you open your mouth and boast? Sticking out your fangs and prolonging your tongue lashings. Are you not the children born of revolting rebellion, who rose up in clear defiance of authority and the relationship by holding this grudge, remaining stubbornly indignant? Being yelled Pisha is bad too. I mean, you're the offspring of discordant deflection. It means you're portraying what you are by projecting it on others, such that you're giving an entirely false interpretation, one that is contrary to God. You're lost in religion, offensive, incensed, and criminally wanton, rebelling against the agreement. So after saying they were born into this, they are the children of that, it now says you are the seed of a sheker. This is now the fourth title that they have earned. Oh, so, she really wanted to find herself written in the Torah. No, so this is her fourth title. That's pretty good,
Wow.
Most people aren't mentioned. She's got 4 mentions. They aren't honorable, but nonetheless, she is a sheker. But what does sheker mean? Vain and useless liar.
Yeah.
A betrayer. A deceptive and vain fraud, promoting a sham. You're the children of a sheker, of somebody who's providing injurious testimony based on false pretenses, one who swears deceitfully and thereby disappoints by way of delusion. And it's true. Everything they say is insane. It is, every time they make a point, you look at the passages they cited to make their point, and the point those passages actually make is to condemn their conclusions. And we do it time and time again. They'll say, oh, well, this proves that we're right. They quoted 3 passages for proving of Mother God, and they say exactly the opposite. They cite the 8th Mashal proverb that there's a mommy goddess who has a voice in it, and it doesn't mention spirit or mom once.
And that's their foundational.
That's their foundational text.
Started the whole thing.
And it's got no mention of a spirit mom, no mention of spirit or mom.
Yeah, there's a slight
And
difference
they
between
say
Ruach
there's-
and Chokhmah. I mean,
then they want to go against the Choder, forgetting the fact that Dode made the first presentation of him, and that Yahweh has said, I've given him my 7 spirits, and here they are. And oh, by the way, one of those spirits, 2 of them, make him the tree of knowledge that's in the garden. And they said, no. AI says, a chatbot says it's messianic. So what are they now? Counting Jesus? Yeah, good luck with that.
These people knew this stuff. That was wrong. They know this is wrong. They were here.
Well,
I know these people.
Yeah, we're gonna go to. I have to write like 10 different options. Why did God take people who have the relative value of navel length? And these people, it's what 8-10 women that aren't smart enough to know their own hat size, that are living miserable lives. This is the point that we were making earlier. They're all living miserable lives. They have horrible relationships, and they're all wallowing around each other, trying to make each other feel important. And so you say, okay, so what? They're hashtagging my name. They're hashtagging yada yada and disparaging it in stupid ways. So why would God even bother? And we're going to address that because I can give you 10 reasons as to why God would bother. And one of them is the killer. So the fact is we have to deal with this. God is bothered. Okay. So no matter, even if we couldn't come up with a reason why God's bothered, even if we're personally not bothered, God is really irritated. I mean, he is more irritated over these women than any other group of people ever. And he is not it's very rare that God says, I've despised these people so much, I'm going to call them satanic, that I'm going to call them a whore, that I'm going to say that they are a betrayer, and I'm sending them to Sheol. But he does.
Yes.
There's just not time. That's
No,
with the
I was gonna say,
Shabuah
we
harvest
got that
coming
right
up.
done.
Yeah, with the Shabuah harvest coming up, even if it is, in June of 27, there's just not enough time. If someone were to see a yada yada short or a yada yada post today and go, go to the website and read everything, they would be hard pressed to make Shabuah. I mean, our work today is looking forward to a Teruah harvest, to the mortal remnant.
Yes.
That's the way I see it anyway. And so to split and to glean what would have been gleaned, to take that apart, that's got to make you very upset. It's
I actually think
these were in the basket and you're throwing them out. These were in the basket and you're
Yeah, I actually think you're correct, but I think there's issues that are far bigger than the timing, and I just have one slight difference with you on what we're trying to accomplish at the moment, because while you're right, we are building the library of Yahweh blogs and of the Yada Yahweh series to reach people after we're gone, and to cultivate the Teruah gleaning. That's all true. I think the primary thing we're doing right now is modeling the kind of response, the anah, that Yahweh is looking for. Yahweh was so disappointed with what happened in Eden and has been disappointed the last 6,000 years that there have been a number of people along the way who have been responsive. Yahweh says at the time, Moshe was the most responsive person. So I call him my wife, my favorite wife. He was the only person who responded. So, but nonetheless, he was the most responsive. And the very fact that we are engaged, we're doing what God wants, we're listening, we're observing, when we make a mistake, we'll correct the mistake and move on. And when we stumble and fall, we'll stand right back up. So we're proving ourselves reliable. I think what we're doing right now is demonstrating what God has wanted all along.
Yeah.
And so you're witnessing a demonstration of what God is asking of us.
I think Yah's also making it abundantly clear that if you mess with the Nakar, you are messing with Dode, you are messing with me. You are
Absolutely.
taking away the tree of knowledge from,
Yeah, I
knowing
think
the
that is the
tree of
primary
lives,
reason.
and
Yeah.
the whole mission goes awry.
Yeah, I think that is a huge part of it right there, which is that for the last 2,000 years, no one has identified Dode as the one who fulfilled Pesach Matzah B'Kodim. That Dode is the Messiah and Son of God who was crucified on Passover to open the doorway to life, and that he was the one whose nefesh soul carried our guilt into Sheol on Matzah to rid us of this guilt so that we were perfected to the point we could enter God's presence. And no one other than myself, going back now 4 years ago, had come up with that analysis, had recognized that to be true. And there is no hope for the next harvest for Shavuot without that knowledge. There is no hope for what's going to happen on Teruah without that knowledge. There is no homecoming for Dode on Kippurim without that knowledge. There's no return to the garden on Sukkah. The next 4 Moed Mikri go unfulfilled. The planet devolves into a death spiral and does not recover. It's all for naught without that knowledge. And so one guy who was predicted, I guess about 1 billion years ago, the 4th day of creation, to be the lesser luminary reflecting the greater luminary's light as a sign for the Moedim, figured it out. And is sharing that message. And if you're going to undermine that, you've destroyed everything from God's point of view, and you've slandered his son, who's finally getting the credit he deserves. So I think that's a huge part of it. All right, so we're saying that you are the seed of a sheker, a vain and useless liar. So this is a bad description again. After calling this woman a sorceress, demonic, and saying that she is a deceitful whore, pandering for affection. He says that you open your mouth and you boast. You've got these tongue lashings, and you have no basis for any of this. And then he says you're children born of revolting rebellion, that you're strictly defiant of the relationship. You hold a grudge. You're just indignant. You're also the seed of this shakar, this vain and useless liar who is the great betrayer. Are you not those who burn with rage and who are so intensely and acrimoniously riled up and boiling over? What is that woman that decided that she was going to attack you and me and Leah? And no need to mention her name, but just think about how riled up she was. And she doesn't even know the 2 of the 3 of us, and she only met one of us for a few days and begged to be able to come back. And yet she's like insane. And there's like 4 or 5 of them that are just over the top crazy, frantic. And I don't even know any of them. I really don't. I've never met any of them. They're just nuts for this. It's like this is their new drug. So you're burning with rage, intensely, acrimoniously, riled up, boiling over. You're cantankerous. You're whipped up into a frenzy, God says. And this is true. Against whom? The AL. Almost every translation here will present this AL by one of its, AL has 4 definitions. Lamb is one. Tree is the next. And tree is prominent tree, big damn tree, important tree. Doorway or leader. Those are the 4 potential meetings of AL. So
hey, we know a guy that meets all 4.
Well, we know a guy that is the ram. That would be Dode. And we know a guy that's the prominent tree. That would be Yada.
Yeah.
It's the
Opening the
doorway
door,
and a prolific source of leadership. That would be Dode as the doorway and the prolific source of leadership. But
right now.
they burn with rage and are boiling over in cantankerous frenzy against Ha'el, the prominent tree, which is the tree of knowledge, and the ram, who is the returning king and the one who fulfilled Pesach, opening the door to life, and fulfilling matzah, which is the only way for us to pass through this life and spend time with God. That's not good. You're going to pick somebody to be against? Bad
Pick
choice.
the wrong fight here.
And
In the ordinarily arrangement, and also in the ordinary arrangement, the spreading out and the entirety of the flourishing and profusely productive etz. What is an etz, folks?
The tree.
Tree. So AL means that she picked a fight with the most prominent tree. And of the spreading out and the flourishing and profusely productive nature of the tree. The tree does have fruit. The fruit of the knowledge of good and evil.
Yep.
She has attacked the choder. She has attacked the Etz Diath, the tree of knowledge, the most prominent tree in God's story. That makes her Chawa.
Yeah, makes her shower. She didn't take into heart Numbers 15, did she? About what happened with the dude playing with the
Oh
tree.
yeah, the guys uplifting the trees in Numbers 15, stoned to death. They weren't picking up sticks; they were uprooting the tree, and that's what she's trying to do. Oh boy, God says, nah, that's my guy. These books, they're important to Yahweh. There you go. They're important to Yahweh. Don't try to tear them down, which is what they're doing. And if you're trying to take the tree that is providing the lives of those who are born with an inheritance, that means the tree that is providing the fruit that enables you to be part of the covenant and inherit all that our Father has to give. From the Sharif, the branch. That would be the choder, wouldn't it?
Sure.
Mhm.
And Selah, the rocky crag.
That kind of nails it, don't it?
Pretty much nails it, man. The
You
most
need
prominent
something else?
tree, the most productive tree, from the people that he is nurturing that will be born with an inheritance that's coming from the Shelef, the branch, and this Selah, the rocky crag. Oh yeah, that's that guy's name at the bottom here. That happens to be Craig. That is
Bag in a rock.
Celtic for crag. God's had a lot of fun with that through the years. Well, just a guess here, folks, on my part, but you might concur. But it's probably a bad life decision to have irritated God to the extent that he refers to you as acrimonious, enraged, and cantankerous. And when he states that you have earned his wrath by spewing venom at his AL, prominent tree and ram, it's really time for a reevaluation of one's life
What the hell
ambitions.
are you doing?
Yep, you need emergency treatment. Yahweh is exceedingly protective of his AL, and he should be. Not only is an AL a large and prominent tree, Etz is the Hebrew word for tree. And here Ra'anan says that God has equipped this tree to Ra'anan to spread out and to flourish, such that it is profusely productive. That's why he's called the Adam of Parah, isn't it? The man who is profusely productive. He is, of course, describing the Etz Dayat, the tree of knowledge in the garden, who has been equipped by Yahweh's Ruach spirit as the choder stem with Etza Dayat, counsel, as the tree on everything pertaining to knowledge of God. That's what God says. I'm not going to argue with him. That's his point of view on this. He has clearly stated that he is in the camp of protect the tree of knowledge, don't disparage it. By trying to poison the roots of God's tree and trash its fruit, the mother goddess Click is seen as Shakat Ha-Yaled, as taking the lives of those who would otherwise be born.
That's murder, ain't it?
Yeah, because they'd be born into the covenant with an inheritance.
So Craig, we have Yah calling her a demonic sorceress, a whore,
Betrayer,
a vain and useless liar, a betrayer, and now an abortionist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's quite a pentad thus far.
Yeah, and it only applies to one person in her little clique. This won't apply to anybody else. And by the way, they really deserved it by besmirching my wife's reputation. And they went really viciously after her. And you look at the stuff that Leah is producing now. I mean, surely I love her. Okay, so she's my wife. I think she's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
No, it's good.
It's obvious.
It's
you can
good
see when
stuff.
we do the shows. You've been here, Kirk. You know, I love her. She loves me. So I'm obviously going to stand up for her because I think she's the best. She's fun to be around. She's brilliant. She loves Yah. She knows the Torah, and she's incredibly devoted and hardworking. But look at what she's producing. I mean, look at the branding and the invitations that she is producing in these songs. I mean, they are literally marvelous. They are just so on point that you're going to attack that. The woman who is doing the most to invite people, and particularly her people, the Jewish people, to know Yahweh. Bad call. So yes, they have become spiritual murderers.
I have a question. I have a question. The nature of the word shakar. When we say it, it's very close to shakar, as in halal bin shakar. You know, and I was wondering in the text if it is a Sheol and Shaul closeness to it. That are they distinguishable? The letter shakar. I don't know where the comes from. You know,
they really are. They are very close. So they're kissing cousins, and of course, Hillel ben Shakar is Satan's name, and she's demonic. So there could well be a clique associated with that. And of course, God's very keen on using the idea of being born into and being the seed of to describe the seed of rebellion or seed of the covenant. The seeds that Dodes sowed produce the best fruit of all, which is eternal light. And the seeds that are being sown by this are seeds of rebellion and cantankerous betrayal. So God uses this all the time as a really productive metaphor. And of course, if he's going to paint you as a demonic woman who is a whore, then he's going to follow that all the way through. You're going to have that same theme running all the way through, including when he's talking about you've made your bed. He is very consistent when he runs with the metaphor. So these vicious malcontents are also trying to steal the inheritance of God's people. And that is a huge reason for disparaging them. They're trying to pluck it from the choder's branches and away from the crag, which would be in absolute defiance of what Yahweh said through Yeshayah in the 17th chapter of Isaiah. And for this crime, there is no resolution. There is no forgiveness, according to Yahweh. Now, the reason that we highlight the fact that everything mentioned in the previous statement was masculine singular in that case, is from the point of this point forward, the condemnation is focused not on the group that she has spawned, which is why masculine singular is used in Hebrew to be the inclusive text. So it's not saying that we're talking about all men. It's just a group of men and women would be presented that way. So he has been attacking the spawn of this woman, of those that are conceived in her image, that are equally cantankerous. Now, from this point on, it's all feminine singular. I've never seen anything like it in the entirety of the Torah and prophets. I've been doing this for 24 years. This is the longest narrative attacking somebody in the feminine singular.
Yeah,
That's really unusual for Hebrew.
He's naming names.
He is naming names. So we know this because there is nothing in Isaiah 57:5 which could serve as the female subject of this rebuke. Nothing. And yet everything that follows is feminine singular. And this leaves us with a single candidate when seeking the identity of the Anah, demonic woman, and Zana, whore, who thought that she should be part of that Shabuah harvest, but wasn't. So let it be known, according to Yahweh, the Anan Zana will reap what she has sown. And that is to be associated with an equally maligned cast of characters. Your fate and assigned inheritance, feminine singular, is among the illegitimate, smooth talking and insulting flatterers who feign praise and adoration, but are divisive, who seductively scatter and divide. Their sorrow and their turmoil, their exasperation is your lot, is your fate and retribution. Your, again, feminine singular. After all, to them you have poured out, you, feminine singular, a drink offering with a fusion of ideas, blending and mixing things together. Can you say Babel?
Mm-hmm.
You have elevated, overstated, and offered up. You have ascribed undue status to, you, feminine singular, grain offerings. Grain offerings, Shabuah. Reading into Shabuah, that's our harvest. No,
yes, sir.
It's not. You've read yourself into this and you do not belong. And that's very insightful. Again, there's only one person who's done that. There's nobody else making grain offerings that thinks that they're going to be part of this. So why, God says, so why? Why should I change my mind and relent? Why should I cease to be concerned about these things? So God is asking the question I asked. So why would God take a group of women that have the collective intelligence of Nevolent and make them the subject of the single most condemning narrative anywhere in the Torah and prophets? And he says, based upon what you have done, why would I want to relent? Why would I cease to be concerned about these things? Because your fusion of ideas that you have concocted, about a mother god, about the Nakar not being a person, the Chodar not being a person, the Zeroah not being a person, Yada not being spoken of. What is it about your Dode not fulfilling the Pesach Matzah Moedim? That my name isn't Yahweh? And you want to tell me that I shouldn't be concerned about this? That you're attacking and besmirching and tearing up the tree of knowledge that I have cultivated, and you want to tell me I shouldn't be concerned about this? Well, this is Yahweh's assessment, and it's his decision regarding the one who has devilishly mocked and slandered his Tzedakah Nakar at this crucial moment in time. And clearly, God isn't about to change his mind. You're uprooting the tree of knowledge. I told you my response to the guy that was uprooting the tree of knowledge in Numbers 15 a long time ago. Why didn't you listen? I told you about the woman who would besmirch someone that I have chosen to speak through his wife, while you claim that you too spoke for God. I told you about turning her into leprosy and spitting in her face and ostracizing her from the community, that she represents divorce. She's the very source of the waters of Meribah. I told you about this. Why didn't you listen? I told you all about the woman who wanted to be a goddess, who coveted the tree of knowledge. I told you what I did to her too, but you didn't pay attention, did you, to the story in the garden in Chawa? I told you all about it. Do you think I'm going to change now? I've written my response 3 times to this, 4 times to this.
Mm-hmm.
You think I'm going to change? You're Mikel. You're the one that's telling Dode that he has no substance, that he doesn't really represent all of these things he's claimed, or the gods claimed, pursuant to him. You're Mikel. So Yahweh is acknowledging that he has encountered comparable rebellions. Why would I change? That means that he has encountered this previously and has announced exactly his response to it.
Mhm.
And yet, what do they say? Oh, it doesn't apply to us. Oh, God says, oh, yeah, it does.
By the
And
book.
I'm not going to change my mind, man. I've told you all about what you're doing. I issued prophecy after prophecy about you. And I've laid down my decision, and I'm not changing. So God is saying, yeah, there's been previous rebellions, and that he has dealt with them similarly, consistently. And of course, Chawa, Miriam, Mikel, from Genesis 2, Numbers 12, 2 Samuel 6, immediately come to mind. However, this is a bit different because this latter day Anan Zana initially feigned support and adulation for Yahweh's Nakar before contradicting herself and becoming so seductively divisive. That is really grievous to God. You were given the truth, and you spit on it. The lesson here is clear, and it is consequential. There is something deemed far worse than continuing to be overtly religious or political, something vastly more costly than being ignorant and apathetic. And that is to have been exposed to the truth and then not only rejected, but repudiated. And that, combined with the timing and the severity of this crime, is why the mother goddess clique has earned Yahweh's most comprehensive and condemning reprimand. There's nothing that compares to this.
Okay.
Yes?
Don't you think it? Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
But don't you think it also is because when somebody betrays somebody from that worked within the organization or whatever, they have instantly some kind of credibility of some people that, oh,
Mhm.
well, they're coming from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
and that's the great Judas thing that everybody
Mhm.
hates, really.
Mhm.
So if Yahweh doesn't speak to this, it just steals lives away. I mean, it really will. So,
He used the term betrayer, didn't he?
yeah, absolutely.
And you can't betray unless you were originally part of something.
That's right.
So it's the last identity that describes the God's ultimate consternation with them.
Mhm.
They betrayed him. They betrayed his son.
Yes,
They
indeed.
betrayed his Torah, his covenant. the Moedim,
It's Choder.
his tree of knowledge, his choder, the Nakar.
Yeah.
They betrayed his covenant. They betrayed the Shabuah harvest. That is the single most unforgivable thing that can be done.
Yeah.
They knew the truth. They were exposed to the truth, and they betrayed it. Now, you're also correct, and that God trades on the conviction and the credibility of those who speak for him.
Mhm.
And if somebody is a former insider, goes psychotic, and decides that they are going to spend their life disparaging that individual, there's really nothing you can do that would be more devastating. It's the single worst crime you can commit. Worse than changing Yahweh's name, worse than denying his son fulfilled the Moedim, is to disparage and to discredit the accuracy of the person God has announced as speaking for him, and doing so by betraying that individual.
You know what's amazing here, Craig, is this is beyond insidious and perfidious, is that she represents the combination of all these other characters in the story, from Chawa through Miriam, through the fella
Yep.
in Numbers 5, et cetera, et cetera. She embodies and basically as a compilation of all of them, culminating in this at this time, inverting the very instructions, guidance, and teaching of Yah. This is the last straw. It just
It's the last
beyond the pale, beyond the pale.
Now, part of this too is that Yahweh has used the writings that he inspired through Yeshaya. And this, by the way, is all in Yahweh's voice. This is not the prophet's voice. This is in Yahweh's voice. But he has used the prophet Yeshaya to provide the textbook for proper chodering, to know how to do this job as the Nakar. And so, therefore, anything that discredits the Nakar and the choder, the final Zeroah, is a really big deal in this particular book, in the book of Isaiah. So the book of Isaiah is going to take particular homage against somebody that is disparaging the principal actor in that book.
Yeah.
And that's what has God's, and in this particular book, so angry. You know, by the time you get to this 63rd chapter, you're having Yeshaya celebrate the arrival of the man from Edom, who is in that wine vat with him, who is bloody red, who is finally saving God's people, the ultimate Zeroah, and not the ultimate Zeroah, but the final Zeroah nonetheless, the one who is cultivating this productive harvest. And so it ends with that crescendo on the man from Edom, and Yeshaya celebrating this at long last. That's my Zeroah, man. That's the guy cultivating the seeds that I have sown for this harvest. And he's ecstatic about it. And this is the woman who has sought to disparage him and to attack and demean his wife, who is such a tremendous contributor to this covenant family, and also to demean every one of you. Every one of you. Constantly. So the thing that God has had to endure the longest, fellas, and that he regrets the most, is the fracturing of his family. It began, of course, immediately after the children of Israel were conceived and became untenable during the Exodus, only to continue unabated in the promised land. And so now, at the cusp of delivering the ultimate family reunion, an especially horrendous breakup has occurred. One fixated on undoing all that God once accomplished over these next 7.5 years. And for that, this sorrowful lot will be sorry forevermore. They hit God where it really hurts. According to Yahweh, the woman he introduced in Isaiah 57:3. As someone deliberately conjuring a false spirit to obscure reality and blow smoke as a sorceress, and a despised and loathed woman of ill repute, pandering to her partners for favorable treatment, while complaining that she was excluded from the Shabbat harvest. She is pouring out a toxic brew of inebriating concoctions that are essentially babble, because they comprise a confounding blend of commingled contents. Equally troubling, she claimed Shabbat for herself, elevating and overstating her absurd claims regarding this offering of grain. Craving a role in God's story, she ascribed an undue and undeserved status to herself, as had been her custom over the years. She would be a mother speaking for her mother God. But since there is no such entity or voice, she lied about God, going as far as to change God's name to suit her myth. She changed even God's gender identity to suit her situation. Yahweh, however, didn't much like being compared to a hermaphrodite. Go figure. I guess transgender was not in God's wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, so why should I change my mind and relent, ceasing to be concerned about these things? There are many subjects about which Yahweh was clear and uncompromising, beginning with his name and his nature. And as protective as God is regarding both, there is something about which he is even more defensive. Through those through whom he has chosen to work and achieve his goals. You get in Moshe's way and Dode's way and Yashaya's way and my way now. God will have your head on a platter. In this case, Yahweh has revealed that his Nakar, observant foreigner, will, as the man from Edom and the Adam of Parah, serve as a witness on the Temple Mount before offering himself as a sacrifice to purge the returning remnant of their guilt. Knowing this, the sorceress has sought to place her cravings over God's plans. And since he has positioned her as a whore, Yahweh is continuing to flesh out the metaphor of wanton infidelity, of pandering for favors. Rather than sacrificing the bull to save Israel, she is seen in bed accommodating herself as the voice of her mother goddess. So the text reads, over the exalted mount, that would be to the Temple Mount, Moriah, arrogantly, through self-exaltation and being carried away with desire, you have placed and made, you, feminine singular, your bed. Additionally, there you ascribe status to yourselves while slaughtering the living. Isaiah 57:7. Bad idea. Not only are we encouraged to listen to Yahweh and do as he instructs rather than as we desire, there are no beds associated with Mount Moriah. It is a place devoted to the affairs of God and his covenant family, and those who are brought to fruition through the fulfillment of the Moedim, they're not delivered based upon personal indulgences. Further, it is Yahweh who ascribes status to his co-workers. We are correct in acknowledging his aspirations, but foolish in ascribing our ambitions to him or her, as the case may be. The consequence of doing so is shattered lives, embittered estrangement, and the demise of countless souls. This isn't something God takes lightly or can leave unpunished. With God, there is cause and consequence, and he is always fair, allotting what we deserve. In this case, during the final countdown prior to his return, as the door to life in the garden is reopened, there the mother goddesses are trying to unhinge God's plans on the cusp of providing eternal and abundant life. She would have Yahweh's Zacharon, most memorable men, replaced by her own proverbs and maxims. And that's particularly funny because the fracture commenced with the Anan Zana falsely claiming that the 14th proverb spoke of her mother goddess, when there is no mention of mother, even Ruach spirit in the whole of the Mashal, and the lone feminine subject is Chakma, intelligence, something they are clearly lacking. Then in the end, at the backside of the door, at the door frame, and on the cusp of abundant life, you have set up and placed your own memorial and your maxims. Because indeed, separated and sent away from me, you were laid bare, revealing your bed and death bier. And you have climbed up to your bed, enlarging it opportunistically and greedily. Every reference, feminine singular, 7 times in that one statement. Every one of them, you was feminine singular. So you have made a covenant with her. You've cut yourself into the same situation and opposition to them. Thereby, you have forever banished and estranged yourselves for her, severed from them by you uprooting yourselves for her situation. Call imperfect, second person, masculine singular. So it's talking about the people deceived by her. You have loved their bed. You prefer and have inspected phalluses. Very pointed, isn't it, Jeff, of the all the commotion that one of the mother goddesses is all up in arms over a box that she ordered from Amazon with a phallus in it, so
Indeed.
that she could, she ordered for herself, and she is just beside herself to not have that box opened and her situation disclosed. And she became among the most vile of them. And
It's
so
the
God
height
is
of
saying,
ignominy.
I got your number. You want to unveil the box? I'll tell you what's in it. It's a phallus. Now it's yod, and it's genitalia, referred to euphemistically using the word for hand. And by the way, in the conjunction with the bed and a whore, every translation knows that this is a metaphor for a phallus. I'm not making this up. You can read any student of this passage, and they will say, yeah, that hand is used as a metaphor for a phallus. Now, while it has been blatantly obvious for more than a year now that the sadistic woman pursuing these caustic ambitions has assured her incarceration in Sheol, something Yahweh will affirm momentarily, since there were women in her ranks that I once valued, I warned them that they were writing themselves out of the covenant, thereby excluding themselves from heaven. My many attempts to help them only made them more belligerent. And finally, I just gave up and I left them to their fate that they had chosen for themselves. I remember pleading, particularly with Jackie, pleading with her. I said, don't do this, not to yourself. Don't do this to your children. Don't do this to your grandchildren. Do you know what you're throwing away here? Don't do this. You're being beguiled. The woman is a psychopath. Well, now I know also she's demon possessed and a whore and the ultimate betrayer. But I begged her, I said, don't do this. She said, how dare you say those things about me? Now God's saying them. You had a chance. You were warned. And now you have God saying them. What are you going to do? You tell God, how dare you say those things about me? As clearly as words allow, God has declared that these malcontent women and misled men are estranged from him, and there is no revolving door on heaven or the covenant family. You can arrive on God's terms or leave on your own, but there is no means of return. In this case, however, those posturing the voice of their mother God have gone well beyond exiting the covenant. According to Yahweh, they have made another arrangement with her, this Anan Zanad demonic whore. And in cutting themselves into her situation, they are now seen as opposed to him, them, which would be Yahweh, Dod, Yada, and the covenant family. Karath La'ath men, him, reveals that the men and women in league with her and pandering for this cantankerous and vitriolic Zana have cut themselves into her situation, which is in opposition to those who will be taken during the Shabbat harvest. They are thereby eternally banished and estranged along with her. They are now severed from us, having uprooted themselves because they preferred to develop a relationship with her in opposition to Yahweh's family, to the tree of knowledge, to the Passover lamb. And so they are now without a covenant and thereby will suffer a communal fate. I would like to remind everyone, too, that in the 24 years of rendering Yahweh's testimony, as accurately and as completely as possible, I have never before seen such a proliferation of feminine singular references. And they all point to the Anan, diabolical woman. She remains the subject of this rebuke because this Zana, insincere and insecure whore, is deliberately conjuring demons to obscure reality as a sorceress while pandering for more favorable treatment, all while protesting that she has been excluded from the Shabbat harvest. How dare God do that to her and to heaven? As for God's concluding comment, that's an inside joke, of course, between us. You see, the most unhinged of the sorceress demons is a sexually frustrated, anorexic, alcoholic, and cutter who bounces between religious cults. Is that pretty accurate there, Dr. Jeff? My diagnosis?
Spot on.
You actually know her even better, I think, Rich. So thank you for contributing.
What's in the box over there, Doctor?
What's in the box?
Oh,
Yeah,
down.
there it is.
We're gonna
Hey! Do we want to open it now, or do we want to save it for a show by itself to see how they respond to this? What do you think, Dr.
It
Jeff?
should be its own show. It should be its
I
own
think it
show.
should be its own show.
Should be at least a Kevin Short.
I'm just
Yeah, I think it should be. Kev, we'll make it its own show. So, well, I do not know her. My wife tried to help her twice, and she repaid my wife's kindness by creating a website devoted to slandering me, complaining that I had killed her. I don't even know her. I've never met her. Along her issues is that box containing a phallus of sorts that she bought online and had shipped to my good friend, Dr. Jeff, whom my wife had introduced prior to knowing that she was Fruit Loops. That's a technical medical term, Dr. Jeff.
It's a good one.
You see, God has a sense of humor.
Yes, indeed.
As would be expected, because she is so robust and, well, the unattractive. She's just sexually deprived, as is Anna, as are most of her supporters. This group is a group of inorgasmic women. They're miserable. They hate men. They get no satisfaction at all from men. I mean, it's the common denominator between them. Loveless lives. After continually renouncing Yahweh's Choder, Nakar, Zeroah, and Adamapara, the mother goddesses and their ilk, turned against Dode, denying his second of 3 lives when he served as our savior by fulfilling the spring Moedim. Theirs became an especially toxic brew of diabolical deceptions, all destined to deny King Dode's return. In so doing, they ignorantly played themselves right into Satan's hands, while doing everything in their power to mask the stench. It says, you have consistently contended with, imposing yourself over, feminine singular, the approach of the king. Obviously, God knew they was going to do this 2,700 years ago. And they said, "Oh, it can't be Dode that was crucified on Passover because there's no human sacrifice in the Torah." Oh, utterly stupid that you don't know that a bashar is disposable, and that the man lives and was not sacrificed because of his nefesh soul. And one of the things that we won't get to it in this program, but we will eventually get to it. I always knew that God said my ruach would never leave him. And so the ruach protected Dode's nefesh soul during crucifixion to fulfill Pesach. It's the ruach that took the blows. And it's the ruach that protected Dode's soul in Sheol. Took the blows again.
Mm-hmm.
It is the ruach that is embedded within and never leaves the Adamah Parah, Yada.
And it will protect you as well.
So it doesn't matter how gruesome the sacrifice is. God's there to take the blows himself, protecting me from them, just as he protected Dode.
Mm-hmm.
You have consistently contended with imposing yourself over the approach of the king. That's Dode. Calloused, unresponsive, ignorant, and fat. You have increased and multiplied your mixtures and compounds, even as perfumes and ointments and salves. Feminine singular. And feminine singular again. Then you dispatch, sending out. You let loose. Feminine singular. Your pivoting religious messengers and your anguishing idolatrous representatives to cause distress and anxiety, while you besiege on behalf of yourselves in adversarial fashion, saying that God is both a mother and a father. As a mother God and a father God, that would be idolatrous, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Out of Babylon.
You, again, feminine singular. As a witness into perpetuity, eternally alienated and estranged, as remote and distant and separated as is possible in space and time. Men rakok. Even as you are humiliated and cast down forever to Sheol. And there it is.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Let's just read that again, because I want everybody to know that God is speaking of this demonic woman who is an insidious whore and the great betrayer who has led her whole brood astray. And God says, you have consistently contended with, imposing yourselves over the approach of the king. Yada serves as the king's herald. My job is to make certain that his approach is grand, that he has an audience waiting there for him, that receives him and loves him and accepts him and is prepared for his arrival. And her intent is to contend with and impose herself over the approach of the king, making her calloused, unresponsive, ignorant, and fat. While you have increased and multiplied your mixtures and compounds, all of your brew of lies, then you dispatched, you sent out your pivoting religious messengers and your anguishing idolatrous representatives to cause distress and anxiety while you besiege on behalf of yourself in adversarial fashion. Constantly, we read their internal communications because they're not so good at keeping it quiet. And read them bragging about what they're doing to try to disparage and discredit me and to bring down all of our social media platforms where we broadcast this Yahweh blog. This is exactly who they are. Yahweh has read them too. As they witness into perpetuity, eternally aligned with that which is alienated and estranged. You are now remote, you're distant, and you're separated as is possible in space-time. Even as you are humiliated and cast down forever to Sheol, which is hell. I'm not familiar with any other place where God says of a individual that they're going to hell and he is sending them there. But that's what he said about this one. So when they all cry, how dare you say that I'm going to hell? Okay. Why don't you try that same line with Yahweh?
Yeah.
How dare God say that he's sending you to hell? I tried. I gave them every opportunity to come back, to not do this. I took the time to disprove everything that they had said and say, come on, you're making a fool of yourself. Stop this already. This is pure nonsense. You know, your best option now is to just stand down and go away so that you don't further aggravate God. Because this is where it's going to lead, and there's no other option here. This is where it's going to lead. You work with Yahweh long enough, you witness various behaviors, and it becomes obvious of what's going to happen. Well, here, God has affirmed that. You're going to hell. You've done it to yourself. So other than the conclusion, Mrs. Powers, how are you enjoying playing the starring role in your very own prophecy? Well, it's hard to know what to add once Yahweh dispatches someone you once tried to help and who then became sadistically savage to you, to hell, to Sheol. It's not like me to walk away from the scene of a crime, particularly one this hellish, without providing additional guidance. And in this case, we are at odds. I'm trying to facilitate the return of our king, and they are trying to preclude it. I want the final remnant of Yisrael restored, no matter the sacrifice. They might say, well, we're not trying to thwart the return of the king. Oh, by claiming Shabbat as your own and speaking against the tree of knowledge and the Zeroah cultivating that harvest and the Adamah Parah that purges the remnant of Yisrael of their guilt so that the king can return and have a kingdom, you are absolutely precluding the king's return. And that's the single greatest crime that can be committed. That is the very crime that Satan has been fixated on from the beginning, is to preclude what's going to happen, what we're doing together and our collaboration with Yahweh. It's the single greatest crime that could possibly be committed. So I want the final remnant of Yisrael restored, no matter the sacrifice, and they only care about themselves. I'm devoted to Yahweh and to learning all that can be known and shared, and they are calloused, ignorant, and unresponsive. We're committed to a single, unified presentation of Yahweh's story, and they're all over the map. I'm trying to clear the air, and they're fumigating the joint. I have been sent by Yahweh to his people at this time, and they are dispatching demonic assaults against my reputation and our social media presentation of God's message. They would have two gods, and I celebrate the realization that our Father is one. We serve Yahweh, while they are aiding and abetting the adversary. Our purpose is to restore Yahweh's relationship with his people, and theirs is to keep everyone alienated and estranged because, well, misery loves company. All right, thank you, Wookie, for making yourself so prominent at this point. Thank you.
Wookie said Leah had a request. Wookie's here to tell you that Leah has a request. She wants to know if she can release the song on Blue.
Do
you remember the song she did?
Yeah,
the song
I
about
think that I think that song should be played when we do the unveil of the box. I think it should all be.
Okay.
I think it all should be integrated. But obviously, now that Yahweh has brought this out of the box and disclosed what's in the box,
Right.
I'm not going to stand in the way of progress. So
Okay.
yes, we will. We will.
I'm
have
with
a
you.
review.
We yeah, excellent. Okay.
Her thing I would love to be able to play now actually is the one that she released today on social media, which is the Good and Evil Woman. It's very short. It's only like 3 minutes, maybe 2 minutes long, maybe even only a minute long, but it is so beautifully done. And it's about the good woman and the evil woman. She posted it on Facebook on my feed today, and so it's on my Facebook page. It is particularly.
If I can get a hold of her and she can get me the link, I can download it and get it uploaded. So
okay, it's up on her Facebook page. I'm sure it's on my Facebook page as well. So because of this conflict, they have confirmed their own reservation in Sheol, continuing to disparage those committed to disparaging his Nakar and Melech, Yahweh reports. With the many variations of your way and your prolonged path, your is, guess what, feminine singular. You have become wearisome, you've become tedious, but you are never willing to admit that you're wrong. You will not acknowledge that life in your beastly group is hopeless, that it's futile and damning. Through your influence, you sought to be found sufficient. You wanted to obtain a reason to assert that you are not the one who was diseased or afflicted. No. Well, you found just the opposite, didn't you? Yashaya, Isaiah 57:10. As is the case with the most egregious serial liars, they cannot keep their story straight. And when confronted with irrefutable evidence that they are mistaken, they pivot to another position, as if argumentum by distraction was a rational response. Every time they come up with a lie, we prove it untrue. And they just go on to the next, as if nothing had ever been said. And therefore, debating them becomes worrisome, even when obviously wrong, and the effort is made to correct them so they might come out of their stupor. They reject all evidence to the contrary, even from God, and they deny reproof. They are incapable of admitting that they aren't just incorrect. They have been errant from the outset, and they've gone from bad to worse. Their initial foundation that they're speaking for a mother god, and that's the mother god of the 8th proverb, is an outright and egregious lie. And that's the foundation of the cult. Now, after having revealed that he is sending the mother goddesses to hell, one would think that Yahweh would move on to another pressing issue, wouldn't you? But that's not the case. And even with countless misleading paths being strewn so haphazardly upon his own, God remains uniquely concerned about the Anan and her accomplices. Congratulations, you got God's attention. That's unusual for God, because this cast of caustic characters is far from the first to never admit that they're wrong. I mean, look at Christians, look at Muslims, look at the Haredim and Judaism. But I suppose that the difference this time is that this beastly group of naysayers picked the wrong time. and the wrong target for the futile and damning assault on God's plans and people. And as a result, the psychotic instigator of the ill-timed rebellion has been called out and condemned. The woman who has long been crazed to find herself written into God's story so that she might feel important in light of all evidence otherwise, has been revealed as the most catastrophic and condescending of souls. You made it. Not away. As someone far worse than worthless. Oops. Well, she has always been psychotic, anxiety-ridden, and diabolical. She has never been honest. Her insecurities terrified her to such an extent she had to mask them behind the veil of the mother goddess delusions. And so we read, and so by association, who is it and what that you're so troubled over, riddled with anxiety, dreading to the point of being frantic and psychotic? Diag, you are so concerned in your dreadful and desperate, degraded mental state, feminine singular, while you continue to be so intimidated and anxious, awestruck, while trembling and horrified to the point of being terrified. Yare, you're frightened and afraid, feminine singular, such that you are so deceptive with your outright lies, thereby promoting a pagan delusion which is contrary to reality. Kazab, I mean, similar to Azab. You become dishonest, communicating that which is not true, even as your deceptions and your false gods are shown to be contrived. You're perpetrating a fraud, feminine singular. And therefore, it's me you no longer mention or remember, such that you do not recall even my most memorable of men, feminine singular. You have not considered these words judgmentally, nor have you taken these statements to heart, examining this message relative to your inclinations and motivations, feminine singular. You don't question whether I will take action even after remaining silent for so very long. From the very beginning and without end regarding me, you have never shown any respect or actual admiration. Yahweh saves, Isaiah 57:11. Boy, after sending her to hell, he's still attacking. I've never seen God this angry. Have you? I mean, he burned up the area around the children of Israel after they besmirched Moshe. Swallowed a bunch of them in the earth when they became religious and made the golden calf.
Right.
He eliminated everybody over the age of 20 when the spies lied about what they saw in the promised land. Clearly God's had some negative responses, but it's always 2 or 3 lines and you were done and we move on to the next topic. He has sent these people off to Sheol, off to hell, after calling the woman leading them a sorceress who is an insincere whore, not that there are sincere ones, and a great betrayer, and sent them to hell, and he's still saying, you disgust me.
Yeah,
It's
a little more
than
I'll just spit in your. A little more than I'll just even if your father spit in your face, just to
or that the leprosy, or you're divorced, or you're estranged, or this is the source of the waters of Meribah. This is just on and on and on, and it's all focused on a single woman at this time about this subject. My Wookiee is saying, the subject is the Wookiee. I think this is probably a good place for us to leave this. We've gone 2 hours and 20 minutes. Is there any chance we can play the that one song? We don't have it. Okay.
I don't have
Yes,
the link
sir.
yet. No.
Okay.
I was just going to say one thing. This is about 20 years now. We've been chatting with each other, and I wrote down a second ago. I said, you say everything, and quite frankly, it makes perfect sense. I mean, yeah, we've got a couple of things a little crooked first, but we've solved those. And then you prove it, and then people call you a liar. I mean, at some point you have to say, "There's the proof. This is logical. This is that. This is factual. This is archaeological." There
You've
it
written
is.
these books, 25,000 pages. You put it all in writing. You put it all out, face up on the table. You have proven every point that you have made.
Yeah.
And you've done it over 24 years, and you've stood behind what you have learned. You've offered insights that no one has ever ascertained before. And you have God saying upwards of 1,000 times how appreciative he is of the role that you're playing. And they then decide, I think the right thing to do is let's demean him. Let's slander him.
And
That'll
and
work
you
out
go.
really well.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm dumbfounded.
It is dumbfounding. I think that is the song right there. If you
Oh yeah.
can find that one and
Just
play it.
17
No, that's not
seconds.
the right one.
That's not
No, that's not the right one. No, it's the good woman. Well, I'll present it again at the type of my Facebook page, and we'll get it shared maybe with the start of the next program.
I could say, Craig,
yeah.
I could
Yes.
just say, Craig, that
Mhm.
these weak, worthless weasels will not prevail. And as I like to say, my brother, chazak, chazak, chazak.
Yeah, Yahweh used in the previous chapter 56 of Yeshaya. He used shazak, which means be strong, unrelenting, uncompromising, showing total resolve and courage, steadfastness. He used it 3 times. And he used it specifically the role that he has asked me to play. And he said, I want you to be shazak. You need to be steadfast through this and be resolute in what you're doing. And being resolute is not being afraid to share what God has to say about them. Resolute means you're going to see it through. And if God has to say this about them, you will share what God has to say, regardless of what anybody responds to or thinks of you for exposing somebody, for calling somebody a whore, and for calling somebody a demonic woman, because God has called them that. And takes courage. And that's what God said. I want you to do that. Now, the interesting thing, and it may be difficult to communicate as part of this program, but there was only one moment when I was bothered by them, maybe 2. One is they really went insane on disparaging my wife, Leah. And so I was bothered by that until such time as Yahweh directed me to Numbers 12, where Miriam tried the same trick. And I found God's answer. And then I turned to Dode's presentation of the Choder, and he begins by saying, oh, by the way, his wife is really chakma smart. And so, that took care of that, took all the sting out of that. The second is when they decided that they would take their own little clicky site down and hide it between disparaging passwords of me, and then start a site because they couldn't attract any attention. And they would attract attention by hashtagging my name and the hashtagging yada yada. It's about as despicable as you can do. It's actually illegal. But, getting social media to comply with their own rules is pretty difficult to do. But hashtagging my name just to disparage me, and not even truthfully, and stupidly. That's what Yah was saying here. When it first came up like that, I went to God and said, no, this is not fair. This is a low blow. What did I do to deserve this, God? It's kind of like what Dode had to say. It's kind of like what Moshe had to say. And you say, this is really unfair. And it took me an hour or so, and I worked myself through it. And in that hour, the first thing I came to realize is that God had a lot to say about this. It had to happen because he foretold that it would happen. And he makes a lot of important points because it happened. In 2 Samuel 6, and the story of the garden, and Bereshith, Genesis 2 and 3, and Numbers 12. He says a lot about it. And now here in Yeshaya 56 and 57, Isaiah. So when God's going to have this much to say about it, then it's got to play out this way. But beyond all of that, there is no way to do this job without empathy. You better care a lot. Otherwise, there's no way you could endure this. And the only way that you can really have empathy relative to representing Yahweh is to endure an internal fractured family. The only way. That's why he had Hosha marry a religious prostitute. It is why Dode had to have Michal turn on him. It's why Moshe had to have his sister claim that she also spoke for God. You're never going to know God's position until you've endured that and you have empathy for him in that regard. So I realized, okay, that's part of the job. It comes with the territory. It's a necessary part of the territory. But then there's the other part of it that says, if you're going to do this job, and you realize that no one has ever done this job that has come out unscathed. Everyone that speaks for Yahweh is hated. And so you're going to be hated. Deal with it. The proof statement here is getting through the gauntlet being hated, having 99.999% of people disparage you. If you can't take that, then you're the wrong guy for the job. Because that's what it's going to be, because that's the way it has always been. That's what I've had to endure these last 6,000 years. I picked you because I think you can do that. And so it's important to do it. And then I began to see it as so irrelevant, it wasn't even worth mentioning anymore until I came to this. Same thing was true when we returned to Chawa's rebellion, which mirrors this in the creation account. And then here. And the reason that now I'm so pleased that we have done this is Yahweh's a really good teacher. He is sharing what he despises. So Leah just walked in. Is there instructions that you can give her that she can take the Good and Bad Woman song and send it to you in a way that you can post it?
It's uploading now. Unfortunately, it doesn't give us a bar. It just spins. So it shouldn't be 2 or 3 minutes. So keep talking.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Well, I think we could probably do 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think we can manage that. Yeah.
I think we can probably manage that. And so by having God have these prophecies, one of the things that prophecy does 2 things for us. One is that it reveals that God knows what's going to happen long before it happens. He wrote these prophecies that depict this specific series of events with these particular people at this time doing these very things 2,700 years ago. So now that when they happen, he is validating that his prophecy and his words through the prophet Yeshaya are exacting and that we can trust him. And that's important. And the second is that 100% of Yahweh's prophecies come with instructions. What God wants us to do is be observant so that we consider, we evaluate how he responds to things, so that when we encounter such things, we can follow his example. And so the teaching and guidance here is when something like this occurs, you need to know this is my response to it. Don't be accommodating. Don't try to lure them back. Don't sweet talk them. Don't make accommodation for them. Do not make excuses for them. Don't even ignore them. They're insidious. Go after them. Condemn them. Expose them. Do all of those things. And that's God's example. And, I don't think we can ever go wrong to follow Yahweh's example. So those are the reasons why I find this refreshing. I find it uplifting. I find it affirming.
Mhm.
I think our
What do you
good
guys
friend
think?
and family member Shannon can make you a special shirt that says, "I am impervious."
I am impervious. Well,
Impervious.
that is true. I am impervious. I've had more death threats probably than anyone alive, and I've never ducked. I've had Yahweh support from day one. We have written 35 books together. We have delivered 10,000 profoundly important insights. We have done things that no one has ever done before. We've discovered the greatest truths in human history and shared them and delivered them. And we've done all of these things together. And he has always worked collaboratively, supporting me, supporting us in this endeavor. And he is a marvelous father in the sense that he prefers to share credit than take credit. So no, it's I'm unfazed by it at this point, but I'm not going to run from it either, because again, the best example in the universe isn't actually Dod's, it's Yahweh's. And when he takes a stand on something, we ought to learn from it. What was it that really annoyed him, and what did he do and say in response to it? Did he turn the other cheek? No. Was he judgmental? Absolutely. Was he condemning? You betcha. Was he tolerant? No. So it's pretty clear what God has to think about this and the issues that are here in betrayal, sorcery, associating oneself with demonic spirits, misrepresenting him, betraying what you knew to be true to garner a cadre of sycophants. No, God's not into that. All right, I think we have the song, and let's go ahead and play it. And I bid you guys a wonderful rest of your Shabbat. This has been a great participatory program. I thank you a lot for doing so. So, King of the Cables, can you play it for us?
Nice.
It looks like somebody read this chapter.
Right.
I think so.
Looks like somebody likes what Yahweh revealed through Yashaya. I see a lot of this chapter that Yahweh has revealed in those words. How about you?
Yeah.
She's pretty good at that.
Yeah, if you're going to plagiarize somebody, you might as well plagiarize God. That works out really well when
liked
you
it.
do. He's happy about it too.
Go ahead. Go for it.
Oh my, that was lovely. Hey, can we? I know you have her hovering over end episode. Can we just play that one more time? Choose wisely.
Mm.
Good night to one and all. Kevin, Kirk, my good friend, Dr. Jeff, and King of the Cables over here, Rich. Thank you so much for being part of this marvelous contribution to Yahweh's
Thank
family.
you, Rick.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, Rich.
Now,
Thank you.
y'all.